Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Tanya, and this is my book wrap up for the month of July. And here we go. So for the month of July, I got 4 books and let's talk about it. Okay, so my first book was The Invited by Jennifer McMahon. This is the classic story of a haunted house. The only twist is it's not a family that moves into a haunted house. They decide, Helen and her husband Nate, they decide they're going to build a house on land that is questionable. The reason this land is questionable is because they relocate from Connecticut to a small country town in New Hampshire. The land is questionable because it once belonged to a woman that is believed to have been a witch. So, like back in the day, about 100 years prior, there was a woman by the name of Hattie, and she was different. That was like her only crime, being different. And so the town just deemed her as a witch, ostracized her, all that jazz. And so they moved to this town and they build a house from scratch. And I'm not going to give everything away, but all I'm saying is the locals are not so welcoming. And Helen is a historian who has a love for old things that tell the story. Now, quite frankly, some of the things that she adds to the house, you're wondering, does that have anything to do with the strange happenings that are going on this land? Okay, so there's that. I enjoyed the story. I think what I like about Jennifer McMahon's writing is it doesn't just hit you in the head with the cliche stuff. It doesn't have that build up like most books or scary stories have. It is a slow burn. It's categorized as a psychological thriller. At no point was I ever afraid or like, oh, what's gonna happen? It was very slow burning, but she does take her time to build this unsettling atmosphere. But this book was very PG-13, okay? So for me, it was like a 3 for me, you know what I'm saying? But it was good enough where I was invested in the story. All right, so that wraps that up. The next book, which was probably one of my favorites, The Black Phone by Joe Hill. Now this was originally called 20th Century Ghosts, and it is a book of short stories. However, the story, The Black Phone, was adapted into film, and I enjoyed the film too. I heard a lot of mixed reviews. I don't care. I liked it. I said before in a previous video, I think one of the scariest scenarios has got to be a child being kidnapped. So our main character, John Finney, is abducted by this creep. So let me back up a little bit. There is a small town in Colorado and kids are disappearing. It's always boys, not sure what that's about, but it's always boys. They disappear, never to be seen again. They call him the Grabber, okay? So, like I said, it's a number of kids that have been disappearing for the past few years, okay? So then John Finney finds himself in this horrifying situation, locked in a basement, knowing basically he's next. So I feel for this boy too. I think that the story is captivating because it's told from the narrative of this young boy trapped in this basement, trying to get out, but like obviously nothing's working. There's no weapons down there, obviously, but it's just a terrifying situation being locked in a basement by a psychopath, okay? A true psycho. Anyway, The Black Phone. In this basement, there is an old black rotary phone, like one of those old classic phones that your granny used to have. Obviously, the phone is not in service, but from time to time, this phone rings, right? So why does a phone with no service ring? So I'm not gonna give too much away about that. All I'm saying is that he's in this basement. He thinks he's alone, but there's this little spark of hope. He thinks he's alone, but there's hope. You know what I'm saying? So the longer he's in this basement, obviously his hope is waning. You know what I mean? All the things that he's tried, it's not working. It's painstaking. You know, reading this boy suffering, going through all this stuff. But like I said, the black phone, it rings. Something or someone is trying to contact him. And that's all I'm gonna say. I loved this book, and I liked the movie. I don't care what anybody says. It got mixed reviews. I liked it. Okay. Moving on. The next book was by Anya Alborn. This book was entitled Brother. This book was like, it reminded me of that movie U-Turn, where like the people are up in the woods and you ask for help, but from the wrong motherfuckers, okay? You asking for help from the wrong people. So this story takes place in West Virginia along the Appalachian Trail, or Appalachian Trail. These people are in the backwoods. There is a property, it's a farm owned by the Moros. The Moros is a family of some crazy ass people. And what they do is they just they abduct and kill people. So the story is told from the narrative of young Michael. Michael is like the runt of the group. He is the one who's different. He, I think, is the only one that actually has a conscience. So he comes from this family of monsters. He's the runt. He knows what's happening here is wrong. You know, the way they treat these women. I think he goes along with it because this is all he knows. And he knows he can't leave this. Like basically these people, they control him. If you speak up or try to go against them, the consequences are very huge. So he plays his role, does what he's told, doesn't make a whole lot of noise. However, he meets a young woman that kind of changes his perspective on life. She has the nerve to actually give him hope. He starts thinking of life outside of the crazy, when I say crazy, I mean crazy Moro farm. But hope is dangerous because hope can be dangerous to some people, you know what I mean? So that's all I'm gonna say. But basically he is inspired to be different, to do different. But however, his surroundings are really freaking crazy. He's surrounded by psychopaths on an isolated farm where there's really no help, even if you did want to leave this situation. So even though he does have his hand in the family business, if you will, you just, reading from his narrative, you know he's different. That's all I'm gonna say. No, actually, that's not all I'm gonna say. I did enjoy the book. It was very gruesome. It does include violence against women. But like I said, with the other books that I've read by Anya Alborn, there's no supernatural element, no ghosts or anything like that. Here, all of the horror and terror is caused by people. Okay, whatever. Moving on. And then the last book I read for July, by an author I really, really, really think is so underrated. I read The Between by Tananarive Due. Tananarive Due. I'll say that name again. Tananarive Due. Due is D-U-E. If you don't know her, Google it. She is most well known for her Living Blood series. That's a whole nother video, but that is the book series that got me hooked on Tananarive Due. I was like, yo, how come nobody's talking about Tananarive Due? But right now, I'm gonna focus on this book. So, The Between. The Between is about the main character is Hilton James. Now, it takes place in present time. He is in his mid-30s. He is a family man. He has a wife and children. But the story starts out where when he was a young boy, he had a near-death experience. Now, you know how you've heard those stories, like people that have a near-death experience, when they come back different. I'm not saying that has like psychic abilities or anything like that, but every now and then he's plagued by these horrific nightmares, like night terrors. I can't even say they're like night terrors. Like he's at the point where he can't sleep. He's at a point in his life where these nightmares are consuming him. These nightmares feel so real. he starts to question, are these nightmares or is it something else? So this reminds me of Final Destination. You know how in Final Destination, the people escape death. However, death is basically stalking them and coming because you can't upset the balance. You cannot cheat death. If you cheat death, basically death is coming for your ass to pay, to even the balance. You don't cheat death. So this kind of reminds me of like Final Destination. So he feels like, are these dreams or is this something else trying to even the balance? So of course, when you say this to people, everybody thinks he's losing his mind. So that's why it's called the between, because he's kind of in between. Does he belong in this life or does he belong on the other side? Should he really have died on that fateful day years ago? That's all I'm gonna say. But this book was really good. It's a little bit older. I think it was written like in the late 90s, early 2000s, because there's a scene where like he's taking his daughter to the movies and he's like, you know, what movie do you want to see? And she's like, oh, I want to see the latest Kid and Play movie. And I'm like, Kid and Play? What year is it? I think I want to see House Party? Anyway, Tananarive Due. What I love about her writing, she takes her time. She is super thorough. She gives you all of the intricate details so you can kind of put it together for yourself, right? She takes her she's a very good writer. Very good writer. For those of you that don't know, Tananarive Due. D-U-E. Google it. You're welcome. Other than this book, oh yeah, so like I said, I did like this book. I liked the ending. The ending made sense. It reminded me of Final Destination. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But the characters, they're so realistic. You can picture them in your mind. They're so realistic. She's good at what she does. I think when I look at other book review videos or booktubers, I never hear anybody talk about Tananarive Due. I think that she is highly underrated. Even though a lot of her books are written earlier, like years ago, I don't really know of anything new. But like I said, her most popular book was the Living Blood series. Just a little brief synopsis. It's a 4-book series. And it's about a woman in Miami named Diana. She is married to this wonderful man. His name is David. Well, his American name is David. And ever since she met him when she was in college, he always seemed so knowledgeable, so intelligent, so worldly, very worldly. For a guy who's supposed to be like 30, he just has this wealth of knowledge. He seems so just not like the average man. Well, he's not like the average man at all, because she finds out that he has a secret. His secret is huge. She finds out that her husband is immortal. And the reason that he's so worldly is because he's like 1,000 years old. He's not a vampire, but he's part of a brotherhood that originated back in Africa. And they underwent a ritual that made them immortal. So not only is he immortal, but they find out that his blood can heal. That's why it's called The Living Blood. It's a 4-part series. That's all I'm gonna say. But for those of you that don't know, check out the Living Blood series by Tananarive Due. It is so good. It is so good. But other books I've read by her, they've never disappointed. She's done short stories too, like Ghost Summer, The Good House, Joplin's Ghost. Her books, they're very detailed. They can be on the longer side, but they're so worth it. She's so thorough. Anyway, Tananarive Due, D-U-E, you're welcome. And for those of you that know, you know. But anyway, so I enjoyed The Between by Tananarive Due. And that's all I have to say about that. So that completes my book wrap up for July. Thank you so much for watching, and I wish you good reading. Bye.